Welcome to Catalyst Conversations, a podcast from the Foundation for Evangelism, where we talk about evangelism, discipleship, and sharing the good news of Jesus Christ with a hurting world. Back in March, before COVID-19 entered our consciousness, we sat down with pastors and lay people from churches in Western North Carolina and Tennessee. We wanted to know how approaching church as an opportunity for life transformation might affect the way they planned worship. The conversations ran the gamut, but some innovative and inspiring ideas came out of our time together. We hope that this podcast series can help you start a conversation in your faith community. In today's episode, Reverend Nicole Jones and Pastor Joe Schonewolf talk about cultivating a culture of silence and listening in their congregations. While this episode was recorded as we were moving into the season of Lent, these ideas have relevance any time of the year.
We at my church started a midweek prayer service because we're really focused on prayer this Lent. Because it's an uncertain time, I feel like everywhere, prayer really helps ground us. And Lent is that time for reflective prayer and all that kind of stuff too. So we have a midweek prayer service, and we have moved one of our evening worship services into a church member's house who can't come to visit with us. Yeah, and so we've just been going over there and sharing fellowship with her and having communion and being really intentional about everything that we are thinking, having it be self-reflected and kind of bathed in prayer. But outside of that, I don't know that we have much other special programming that's Lent focused. What do y'all do, Nicole?
So we have a similar situation where we have a Wednesday night contemplative prayer service, and that's something that we had started prior to the Lenten season, but it was just within the last year or so. And it was trying to intentionally create this space for being still and cultivating silence within our lives, particularly midweek when there's the frenzy of life going on. But something that we have started since Lent began was a prayer wall. And so during the worship service, people have an opportunity to write down a prayer and place them in the prayer wall. And we take those prayers and bring them before our prayer group on Wednesday night, and they're all prayed over during that time. And what we found is that some people have felt more comfortable writing down a prayer and placing it there, knowing that there's going to be a community that's going to be praying over it, rather than speaking up. And during the worship service, they may have something that's really heavy in their heart, but they just don't feel comfortable saying it out loud at that time. So it's been a real privilege for me and for the members of our prayer group to have that time set aside to pray for those prayers as well.
And for those that don't know, Nicole, you're also a mother of four.
I am.
With your oldest in third grade.
Yes.
So how do you cultivate this lifestyle?
Right.
Okay, got you.
Yes.
So,
I mean, it's hard. It is hard. And so it's a recognition that sometimes that space isn't there, and you have to be intentional. And Lent is an invitation to intentionality about our faith through reflection, to really take note of the landscape of our lives and say, there's some things here that don't really fit or align with the person who I feel God is calling me to be. So I need to make some adjustments. And part of that is creating space to have that time of reflection, because otherwise it's so easy in our lives today to just keep going, to zip from one project to the next. To have one work project, stuff at school or stuff with the kids. And so the intentionality piece, I think, is important. So I'm grateful for the space that's created. And sometimes the kids enter into that space and it gets noisier,
right.
But it's okay, because they're saying this is important. This is a priority in our family's life, is to have a relationship with God. And listen to God, that we're not always just talking at God, but that we're being still.
Right.
And that it's not a rule, right? It's not be silent because I told you so. It's be silent because sometimes God shows up in the quiet, and we need to practice that.
Yes.
I think that's good for kids.
And it's a skill. It's a muscle. I found that people are uncomfortable with silence. So
How
if
much
we held the
silence?
silence here
Talk a little
for
bit
a while, I mean, it would be uncomfortable after a while. But but when you practice that, like any muscle, I think that you become more comfortable and delight in that quiet, contemplative state.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Catalyst Conversations. We invite you to use this and our other episodes to start or keep a discussion going in your community. We hope they inspire you to begin building a culture of evangelism and discipleship to transform the world. Go to foundationforevangelism.org, that's all spelled out, or look for Catalyst Conversations wherever you get your favorite podcasts.